Hello YouTube, Dave here again. Today I'm going to be giving you my thoughts on the Pathfinder 2nd Edition NPC Core Book. This is one of the latest releases from Paizo for the Pathfinder 2nd Edition role-playing game and is part of the remastered series, so this is material that's updated for the Orc license, moving away from the OGL that they were using previously with the initial release of Pathfinder 2e. Now this was, for full disclosure, sent to me by Paizo for the purposes of doing a review, and I want to thank them for that. However, as is always the case with these types of things, they are not scripting or pre-screening the video, and the opinions that I express are 100% completely and totally my own. But this was kind of a cool moment for me, because I realized when I actually got this book, and looked at it, this is like the most recent thing I've added to my Pathfinder collection, and the very first item for Pathfinder that I ever owned wasn't a rule book. It wasn't the core rules. It wasn't an adventure path or anything like that. It was the pawn set, the cardboard pawn set for the NPC Codex for 1st edition Pathfinder. So the very first thing I ever owned for Pathfinder was actually related to their NPC book, and now I've got the 2nd edition one here in front of me. So this does retail for $69.99 US. That's the suggested retail price. You may find it for different prices depending on where you get your books, but that is the suggested retail price here. And let's just sort of dive right into it here. I actually really like the cover artwork here. We kind of have an unpopular noble with an evil advisor in his ear, and you've got some like citizens that aren't particularly happy there. I like the goblin chef holding the jar full of pickles, as you can see there. I thought that's really cool. And then you've got this watch guard, or this like guard for the noble there, actually using like the arcane shield spell. It's just kind of a really neat piece of artwork there. And then if we look on the inside cover also has some depictions of a whole bunch of NPCs, including the goblin chef, and he's holding he's holding, I almost got demonetized there. He's holding a pickle. And we got the Outrider, the Bone Mother there is pretty cool. The Zealot of Osmodius is really awesome. We got the Bounty Hunter, the Watch Mage, I think is actually really cool. Piece of artwork there, along with the unsanctioned sheriff and the standard bearer. So just some really cool artwork in here. Pretty much all around. The table of contents, we've got our NPCs broken down by sort of their their vocation, or whatever you want to call it, their societal class structures, whatever you want to refer to it as. So we have that taking up the first 160 some odd pages of the book. Then we do have some Ancestry NPCs. So there's going to be some NPC stats that are specific to different ancestries from like the core books, which is really cool. So yeah, let's take a look here. We got the adjustment rules for sort of raising or lowering the levels of the NPCs in here. So you have the elite adjustment and the weak adjustment. And I've actually used the elite adjustment quite a bit in my Pathfinder 2nd edition game so far, or technically my Starfinder 2e game. And I think it's great. You can get a lot of extra mileage out of these adjustments. So with each set of stats, and these adjustments are pretty easy to do. So the biggest thing for the elite adjustment is whatever the creature's level is, you add extra hit points, and then they basically get +2 to everything else that matters. So like their attack bonuses, their armor class, their saving throws, their DCs, their skill checks, so they get a +2 to that. And for the weak adjustments, it's just kind of the inverse. So you subtract or you deduct a certain amount of hit points, and then they get like a -2 to all those things. And so for each stat block, you can actually get 3 levels of use out of it. So their starting level, and then their weak adjustment level, which is 1 less, and then their elite adjustment, which is considered to be 1 level higher. So it's great that this is included in here in this book, because it's something that, like I said, can just help you get a little bit of extra mileage here. There's also information on troops. So troops are basically like the old mob templates that we would have had in Pathfinder 1st edition. So effectively, it's like a swarm of creatures that get smaller and sort of have diminishing abilities as you reduce their hit point total. So instead of it being like single creatures, you could just have like a mob of like rioters, or they also use this for like military squads in this book. So you can get a lot of use out of the troop information here as well. So again, it's a really cool addition in this book too. I really like it here. So again, I'm not going to necessarily flip through every single page, but there is some interesting stuff that we have in here. So like, for example, each of these categories is going to have extra rules information that accompanies them. So we've got the artists here, for example, the artisans, and we have examples of things that they can do to help or to hinder the PCs, different quests they can go on, and sort of like what kinds of items they might have or be able to create or have access to. So it's really cool, and every single, like I said, every single stat or group of individuals here will have something like this. So here we have the courtesans, or however you pronounce that. It's like your nobles, your spies, your political intrigue type characters, and here you've got their titles and charts for creating their own like emblems or coat of arms or whatever you want to call family crests type of thing. So again, just some really, really cool stuff in this book. We got our criminals and some really cool artwork in here again. We got the lag breaker who looks awfully crazed, and we got our bandit gang. So this is an example of a troop. So they sort of attack as a swarm. And we got our master of disguise, and we actually go all the way up to like a flamboyant thief, which is a level 15. So there's actually a pretty good spread of levels in here as well. And again, you can also adjust this to be level 14, leave it at 15, or adjust it up to be level 16. So along with the thieves here, or the criminals, you've got some new criminal tools and some spells that you can actually add, and this really cool bounty hunting chart, which gives you like the recommended party level, what the rewards are, what the individual, or what they're going up against. So again, just some really cool additions to your campaigns here. Lots of great stuff added into this supplement. And we've got like some of the different priest stuff. We got the deific vessel of Urgathoa, which a player in my Starfinder campaign will probably love to see that artwork there. And we've got the deity reference, swapping out the deity. So if you want to change out some of the abilities using the stat blocks for other deities that might be more pertinent to your campaign, then you've got that information in here as well. We got the different blasphemies against the different religions as well. So yeah, just a really cool addition. We got our downtrodden. This is a pretty small section, not a large level range here, but we've got like the misfortune table. So you can kind of see essentially what happened to cause them to be down on their luck like they are now. So, for example, you might have a valiant soldier too wounded to fight, so he becomes like a drunkard, for example, or an individual who can't sleep because they're haunted by a ghost, and that kind of leads them to be like an urchin, or maybe even they're locked away because of their insanity. Anyway, just some cool additions here. We got our engineers, so these are sort of like your more like tinkerer type of characters. You got the toy maker there. I kind of love the toy maker throwing up the old wooden blocks. Artillerist, the rocketeer. I kind of wish they would have given him the helmet, or a helmet that resembled loosely the Rocketeer, because when I was a kid, I loved that movie. I even had one of the Disney, I forget what they called it now, but it was like this little like Archie style comic thing from Disney, and the one that had the Rocketeer on it, I used to have that as a kid. We also got a Juggernaut there, so a guy in like steam powered power armor, whatever you want to refer to it as. And then we've got some firearms information in there to go along with them, because that's sort of what they're connected to. We got our explorers. The explorers will have, some actual like exploration related stuff. So features and hazards that you may come across in these different environments, equipment that could be useful for exploring in those kinds of environments. And again, you get all kinds of stuff here. Again, I don't want to go too deep into it. But yeah, again, just a really fantastic book here. We got like our military. So we got our infantry soldiers, our conscript squad, standard bearer. And then again, we've got some more like where are we here? The line infantry. So that's a troop as well. The phalanx formation is a troop. So you've also got like your cavalry as a troop, your Hell Knight Cavalry Brigade, which is even scarier. You got your Mage Knight, and then some adjustments and stuff there for that as well. So again, you get all kinds of different additions here. Lots of great NPCs to add to your game. We'll just take a look here at the villains, and we've got the conspiracist, who would go along really well with that conspirator dragon that I used in my Starfinder game, whose breath weapon consisted of conspiracy theories. So like you could build a cult sort of around that. We have our saboteur that you can j'accuse, the fiend caller, the deluded mob. So we got propagandist. So again, some really awesome stuff here. We got the despot, the mastermind. We have a flesh warper, which doesn't sound particularly fun to go up against. Reckless scientist. We got a warmonger, the gang leader, wealthy vigilante. We've got the hero hunter, and then the world ender. So again, lots of range here. It's also got Galarian's Most Wanted, so a little sidebar, and we got Tarbathon, the Whispering Tyrant, who was going to be the subject of my Pathfinder campaign before the Starfinder playtest stuff come out. We also have the Rune Lords, which several of the adventure paths that have been released revolved around them as well. So really cool to see some layer stuff. And then we get into the Ancestry NPCs. So we've got just some Ancestry adjustments. So this is a really handy thing to have in this book. And I don't like to compare things too much, but when I was going through the 2024-2025 Monster Manual, one of the things that I said I wish they would have included in that book were a list of adjustments to make to the NPCs to make them fit with the other humanoid races that were available. So this book has that, and I think that's awesome. So for each of those NPC stat blocks that we've had here before, and even you could really even do it with the ones after if you really wanted to, you could just make these adjustments to them in order to convert them. So you could have, instead of a group of like human bandits or whatever, you could have orc bandits, or Tengu, or I think the idea of like a group of like bandit leshies is kind of adorable. So really great to see that they have that in there. They got some information on some of the different human cultures in the world of Galarian, and then we get into our Ancestry specific NPCs. So we've got the dwarves here. So you got the dwarf smith, the spirit priest, the battalion. And then, so there's the battalion there, the dwarf general, the dwarven curses and exclamations. I could definitely see getting some use out of that. So we got some elven ones here as well. They usually look like they also include like some sort of troop, if you wanted to have a larger combat sort of thing going on. So again, really, really cool stuff. And we got our goblins, the goblin chef. So there's the goblin chef from the cover, the goblin scavenger. He looks kind of terrifying. We have our Goblin Get Gang, and again, I love the artwork that they do for some of these like goblins in particular, because you got these guys with the torches there looking menacing, but that guy's holding his torch a little bit too low, and it set his hat on fire. So again, just some really cool things to have. We got the big boss goblin, and like goblin superstitions and pickled perfection. So there's actually a recipe for creating goblin pickles, if you wanted to do that. So again, it's just a really neat book to have in here, and like having access to all these NPCs is fantastic. If I were to have one criticism, is I think that the rules for creating NPCs from scratch should have been included in this book. I think there's information about it in the Game Master Guide, which I understand why it's in there, because the GM core book, I should say, came out months before, so it does make sense that it's in there. But I think that they could have added a few more pages, even just to reprint that information. But you need the GM core to use the NPC core, so you do have access to those rules, but I think that's the only thing kind of missing. Another section that was just filled with unique NPC abilities also would have been kind of cool, but for what this is, it's a really solid book. You've got all kinds of different stat blocks. There's a huge range in levels that goes all the way up to level 19. I think they've got them sorted by... Yeah. I mean, the higher level ones don't have as many options, but truthfully, similar to other level-based role-playing games, it tends to be levels 1 through 10 that get the most play anyway. So you got a huge assortment there, and then you've also got, some options that will still take you up to level 19. I mean, you could potentially create an entire campaign where all of your NPCs are drawn from this book. And yeah, I think it's always useful to have stuff like that present. I think it's always handy to have these pre-made stats ready to go. So if you like to use a lot of NPCs in your games, then I think this is going to be a really cool book. And if nothing else, even if you want to still make your own NPCs, you can take a look at the stat blocks that are provided here and the abilities that are provided here, and you can apply them to your own creatures of your own levels or whatever you want to do with it. So overall, I think that this is a really solid book, especially if you're a game master. If you're just going to be a player in a Pathfinder campaign, I don't think this is necessarily going to be on your radar, but as a game master, as a perpetual full-time game master, I can honestly say that these books, anything that has just a bunch of NPC stats that I can draw from, are always going to be super useful for me. And I kind of wish I had this before I wrote the last Starfinder adventure that I did, but it's still great. I'm still going to get a lot of use out of this. So if you're a game master, this is a book that I highly, highly recommend, and I think it's going to be a really worthwhile addition to your gaming table. Anyway, let me know in the comments below what's your favorite NPC that you've ever interacted with, or as a game master, what's your favorite NPC that you've ever created? Let me know that in the comments below. Anyway, thank you all so very much for your time. I truly appreciate it, and we will see you all in the next one. Until then, take care.